Today we're reviewing a statue so big it may be the biggest statue in my collection. It's so big we can't review it on the table. I actually had to build it in place. I know what you're thinking. Are there going to be any jokes about size? Thanks for tuning into the Extreme channel. My name is Mr. X. Today is very unique. While we're reviewing a statue, which is very normal on the Extreme channel, I'm in a different part of the man cave. I've temporarily moved the lighting and the audio, so it may sound a little bit different than normal. And if that bothers you, go cry to your mom. But today we are reviewing a piece that took away all of my words and literally my will to live. This is by Prime 1 Studios. This is Shockwave, non-scaled, from the Michael Bay Transformers movie, specifically Darkside of the Moon, the third installment. When I say non-scale, what does that mean? Well, typically when they make a statue, they make it in a scale. So for example, half scale means it's half the size of what a real life figure would be. Well, as you can imagine, a Transformers figure would be monstrous. It would probably be 100 feet tall. So while this is non-scaled, a lot of people think the Transformer pieces that Prime 1 Studios makes are 1/10 scale. I think that may be the case, but not with him, because while he is massive, he's not incredibly massive. I actually have Optimus Prime jet power right over there. And if you're a seasoned viewer of the channel, you may be thinking, hey Mr. X, things look different in your collection. That's right, I'm excited to tell you we have another room tour coming up very shortly, and about 75% of the collection has changed. So in light of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and you like this video, because we're doing a few contests. First one is, comment sometime in this video. Let me know your thoughts on this piece. Let me know your thoughts on Mr. X swag. Let me know your thoughts on your neighbor. Every time you comment, you get entered into a monthly contest. Also, we have a statue giveaway going on. On our road to 20,000 subs, we are giving out this Mortal Kombat statue at 12,500 subs. All you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, and you've hit that bell notification, and stay tuned for that giveaway. So as Optimus would say, let's roll into this review. And as always, we're going to start with concept. Now, because this is a movie piece, we want to see how accurate is this to the movie, along with, is it cool, did they display him well, and a few different things going on. So first, on this base, now what's very different about this base is it's not your traditional Transformers base. What do you mean by that, Mr. X? Well, first of all, it is huge like all of them, but it doesn't have a nameplate or a Decepticon or obviously not an Autobot emblem on the front. And they actually have some rocks integrated with this, which is typically not the case, where you see his tentacles coming out. And as you move up Shockwave, he is in a museum pose, so he's posing for a picture. Although his tentacles look like they are in an action pose from behind, which we'll look at some close-ups during the pictures we do. He has a huge gun on his right hand, a huge blade on the back of his left hand, and he just looks badass. We're going to talk about his coloring because it's a little bit different than you would expect. And you move up and he just looks evil, clearly a Decepticon. And the biggest thing about this piece is the size. You have to take size into consideration.
That's what she said.
And while size isn't the most important thing, if everything else is done really well, size will really help exemplify everything else. And I think that's the case with this piece. Shockwave looks amazing. Further, in the Michael Bay movies, Shockwave, you really didn't get a good look at him like this. I think there may have been one or two quick scenes, but he just looks badass. Can we just say that? Let's say it together. Come on, at home. He looks badass. And I love the fact that one of the biggest things we remember about Shockwave was these tentacles ripping through the streets, trying to kill Autobots, and they incorporated that as well. Really, if you're going to pull off a piece this big, you have to make sure, as I said, it looks badass. I think they did that. It looks like the Shockwave from the movies. They incorporated stuff from the movies. They changed up the base a little bit. So I'm going to give them a 4 out of 5 on the concept, which is a very good score. It's a rail. I mean, it's not quite a grail, but a statue you'd really want. Now we're jumping into design, and it's quite possible you saw the assembly video on this. If not, you can check it out. It took 1 hour and 20 minutes to assemble, and the directions sucked. You needed a microscope to see which piece they were talking about. However, thankfully, Prime 1 Studios has been doing unboxing videos as of late. While that was a huge help, you have to watch it in slow motion and pause and rewind over and over. People who are members on this channel actually got to see the raw footage of that. Want to know what that's about? Look at that join button right below. Now with him, there are no switch out pieces. I don't think there needs to be. There are 3 light up features. So let's take a look at that. First is his gun, which unless this is displayed really high, you'll never see this. So here it is off, and then you can see it on. And also his back thrusters light up. Check this out. Here they are off. And then of course we will turn them on. And then his Cyclops one eye will also light up. Here it is. Now, if you've ever owned one of these pieces from Prime 1 Studios, you know that you rarely use the light-up features, at least I do, but you do know that they burn out after 6 months even if you don't use them, so they're kind of a waste. Now let's talk about engineering, because I think that goes into design. Everything fit really well. On the assembly video, you may have seen he was a little wobbly, and I don't know if that's intentional because he's so big and he weighs so much, or if it was just my piece. So I do have some engineering worries about down the road. A statue this heavy and this big creates a problem. Did they go too big? Put that in the comments. And really, I think we could make a video on the design of this piece, how the intricacies just work together. So I think because of that, while the size is a negative, it's also a positive. And how many different moving pieces that work together. And what's crazy is during the assembly, I said to my oldest son who was assisting me that some of these pieces that you're inserting that they engineered, you wouldn't even notice them if they were missing, but they still went that extra mile for that detail. So I think the design on this is 3 out of 5. It's very average or very good. And recently somebody asked me, why is a 3 out of 5 very good? And my response to them was, we pay $1,000 for this statue, or this one's quite a bit more. I expect average to be good, if that makes sense. A 3 out of 5 should be good. That's what's expected. So now let's dive into paint and sculpt, and there is so much going on. So I think we're gonna do a video of the paint and sculpt just to try and capture this for you guys. So for paint and sculpt, the difficult part is where do we even start? But we'll try the base here. So as I said, a little bit different about this one, it actually has pieces of rock, which is not seen. Typically it's all futuristic, what I call Cybertronian. You've heard me say that multiple times. But a little bit of this rock kind of insinuates, he's digging through the earth, and it's done really well. It has a lot of great textures and colors, some dirt colors in there, as well as the traditional granite. Some browns on top, and some of it has kind of a moist effect, which is nice. And then let's look at his tentacles next. So I love this. I love this coiled pattern. So many moving parts in here. It is just nuts. And these have a hint of brown and purple on them. Otherwise, they're mostly that silver and metallic. Where you really see it turn a lot more brown, kind of this dirt and rust color, is on the blades up here. Check this out. I apologize for the lighting on this, but and then even the saw blade on top. The detail, I mean, just think about when they were printing this statue. 888 times, plus spares. And then we'll move over to the other blade. A little bit different actually, but you see things in there from the tiny circuitry that's going on. And you see a few hints of purple, but not many. It's mostly that silver and browns, where Shockwave himself is this purple color. And I don't recall that in the movie, but I like it a lot on the statue. I was a little bit worried about it. We'll jump to that in a second. Let's look at the base here. So very dirty, very old. A lot of the Decepticon bases are like this, but this is more so. I love the eye in the center. I still have some styrofoam pieces I need to get out of there. Not sure what it insinuates, but it looks cool. You have this black splatter pattern, and this almost looks like I have a winding blade in the middle. Very different. Some old rust-worn stuff around the base. These kind of spikes on the sides, I like that. I'm a guy that likes symmetry and things like that, so I'm really digging that. And you see a lot of symmetry in Shockwave as well. So all these parts, like his feet almost look like a rhino with the toe part coming out. This is all removable, then almost what I call the ears right here. And here you see those colors. There's a little bit of silver. Mostly on his legs, it's this purple color with a few gold accents. And we will look at the back. And look at this detail in this armor. Crazy, crazy amounts of detail. Almost looks like, a lot of these have some Cybertronian writing on it. Cybertron writing. I haven't seen any yet, but there could be. So you see a lot of the mechanisms like the other Transformers, kind of the working mechanisms of a robot, whether it's springs or cables. Now I think the gold accents it really well. And you can see right here all those parts that, if you watch the assembly, his torso is badass. Look at this. Almost looks like he has an exterior rib cage. Very, very cool, and a lot more of the robotic parts. Let's check out his gun here. This is not only the size, but it's awesome. It's overwhelming almost. But here's some of that detail I talked about. While it's not writing, it's almost a pattern design on there, and they have flecks of black all throughout the purple and almost cracks like, sorry about that, like he's been in a lot of battles, which we know he has. And look at this, is how far that extends down. It's just crazy. And then kind of the blades on the sides. And super worn. All these cracks. We'll go back to his portrait in a second. Here's his other arm, which I quite like as well. He has kind of this huge blade on the side here, like he does on the other ones, but quite a bit bigger. Almost makes you think it could increase or decrease in size. And you see a lot of what we've seen throughout the entire body, other than when you get down to his hand. Very cool. This almost like an evil robot looking hand here, where there's a lot of, I'm trying to think of the right wording here, maybe spikes. I'll save his portrait for last, but to kind of give you perspective here. And then here's that tube I was talking about during the assembly that connects from his gun all the way up to his back. And you have tons of stuff going on here. The thrusters, we looked at the light up feature. Now, there's a lot of the same, and when I say that, it's not a bad thing. It's all these different plates of armor going in tons of different directions with a lot of the same rustic, purple, metal, tarnished color on it. Take a look at this right here. This is really one of the only parts that's not super purple. Maybe it's just the lighting I have it in. And we'll swing back here to his portrait. This is crazy cool looking. Very evil, I believe very movie accurate. I still don't know if I have the his pieces in right here and here. One eye. And again, look at the tiny details, the tiny little nodules around there. So much going on with this piece. Now typically I rate these differently. I rate paint separately than sculpt, but I think this piece, it falls in the same category. I think they're both a 4 out of 5, so way better than good, but not quite the best, although it is teetering on that pretty closely. Let's talk about value. So I did buy this brand new at retail. I got him from Sideshow, and he is either $25.99 or $26.99. Yes, that's $2,700. Plus you had to pay about $200 or $300 in shipping and $200 or $300 in taxes. So all in, he was like $3,200 or somewhere close to there. As I said, he's probably the biggest statue I own. I think you get a lot for your money. This is definitely a piece that I think you have to display in the middle because, as we saw in the paint and sculpt, the tentacles in the back are really cool. Those Prime One Studios Michael Bay Transformer pieces sell for a lot more on the aftermarket. Now, I believe he will too, however, you cannot reship him. If you watched the unboxing video, you saw that he came in 4 giant boxes, and he was about 100 pieces. So I'd be very hard up to try and disassemble him, repack him, and pray to God he gets there safe with no broken pieces. So I think that hurts the value a little bit. However, I think he is priced right. However, with the statue market, an ES of 888, for some reason they love to do the Michael Bay Transformers in that edition size, I think he is priced correctly. So I think it's a 3 out of 5 on value. That doesn't mean he's not an amazing piece. Does this piece have the X factor? What is the X factor? Well, that's kind of the overall score, and it is not an average of the previous scores we did. It's when I walk in and look at this piece, does it blow me away? Do I love it? Yes, I do. This has the X factor, and it's not just the size, although that's the leading factor. Everything else really ties in and just makes it awesome. Now, I am going to put some other Transformers next to him. I have some over there as well. You will see in the room tour. But for now, I love the fact he kind of stands here by himself, and I guarantee people will naturally gravitate towards this piece when they come visit the man cave. In fact, they won't want to leave, which is good because I don't let most of them. So thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Again, I apologize if the lighting or the sound was off, but please leave a comment below. If you have not subscribed to the X channel, hit that Mr. X logo. I forget what side it's on. And then check out some of these other Prime 1 Studios statues in the playlist. Until tomorrow, take care.